Welcome. Is there any way to realise the vision we have that the need for food banks in UK could ultimately be eliminated? The first 2 food banks opened in 2004. However, since 2010, the number run by the Trussell Trust has increased to over 400. In the period from April 2023 to March 2024, the Trussell Trust distributed over 3 million emergency food parcels, the highest number in a single year and nearly double what it was 5 years ago. Over 1 million emergency food parcels were distributed for children. You have to ask yourself, is that fair? The roots of food poverty in the UK and the rise of food banks are deep and complex. In fact, food poverty is really a symptom of an underlying state of poverty that is growing. Increasingly, those running food banks are saying that handouts are not the answer. The good news is that there is potentially a way of tackling this huge, seemingly intractable problem using our conflict cracker. The conflict cracker is a rigorous 6-stage process which has the potential to create the change we all want. It aims to reveal the various value systems that influence human behaviour, allowing us to identify new ways forward that can result in sustainable change. Let me show how this could work with food banks and poverty. The first step in the conflict cracker process is to identify the problem we want to solve and who are the main stakeholders. First, the problem. Over 40 million people in the UK are in poverty. This includes 2 in 10 of working age adults, 3 in 10 of children, 1 in 6 pensioners. And children consistently have the highest poverty rates. We have identified 5 main stakeholders, as shown here. The second step is to identify the higher level interests of each stakeholder group and what they get out of remaining locked into their current positions. These higher level interests drive their behaviour and need to be met if a sustainable solution is to be found. For the Labour government, a strategy to eliminate food banks could, in the future, provide a link to a policy to tackle the root cause, the increasing levels of poverty triggered by the Cameron-Osborne austerity programme. Food bank users don't want to have to use them, but feel respected by the food bank volunteers, far more than the benefit staff and the last government. For the general public, the problem has a fairly low profile, and there are no benefits to them in the current situation. The Lib Dem opposition cared deeply about eliminating the need for food banks. It's also a strong platform to attack the government and differentiates them from the Tories, establishing them as the real opposition. The Conservatives can safely ignore the issue, as it doesn't affect the average Daily Mail or Telegraph reader. They can continue to blame it on the pandemic and save their energies to focus on other things, such as distracting the public with future tax cuts. Step 3 is to identify as many of the perceived or real barriers, declared or hidden, that stakeholders put up which prevent any possible resolution. The number of barriers are many and seem insurmountable. So we move on to step 4 to identify the leverage point, the key thing that would enable a breakthrough. To find the leverage point, 2 questions have to be asked. What is common to all of these? What drives all these? The analysis shows that this is not just an issue of the food banks, but a symptom of a much more significant and deep-seated problem, the substantial increase in poverty in the UK. The situation is almost certainly a consequence of the austerity initiative led by David Cameron and George Osborne, together with later public service and social support cuts. In fact, the roots go further back in time to the influence of the Chicago School of Economics on Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher. And this in turn links to the Conservative Party's current sense of identity. Under the previous administration, with its internal struggles between the extreme right wing and the centrists, no change was possible. The Labour government will never have a better opportunity to tackle poverty overall than in its first year in office. The Lib Dems, with a record number of MPs and an ambition to become the main opposition party, could find the initiative compelling too. It would seem that the leverage point must relate to building an identity based on a more compassionate mindset. The Labour government's policy is outside of our control, so our attention must be directed towards those who have a degree of influence, which leads us to step 5. Identify a new goal to directly address the leverage point. As an external catalyst, we need to present a compelling case for change to bodies such as the Trussell Trust and the Fairness Foundation. Ideas to make the proposal attractive might include a vision to make Britain better, eliminate the need for food banks. This could be presented as an investment in the country's future rather than a cost. Build an economic case to reduce poverty using data and lessons from the Blair-Brown years, when child poverty fell. This would fit with the Labour government's need to appear financially prudent. Remind stakeholders of Blair's regret over not being bold enough in his first years in office. Present evidence to show how the system maintains the current situation, and how it is possible new proposals could shift the entire system to a sustainable level that results in increased public health and availability to work. Provide a counterbalance to the means testing of the pensioners' winter fuel allowance. Step 6. Test the new goal against the higher level interests of the stakeholders. Although any change would take time to be effective, the majority of the public should be supportive. Bold and positive steps to eliminate poverty and the need for food banks would give some hope for our future. The government could frame changes in the benefit system as new thinking and solid evidence of decisive action. This issue becomes a powerful platform that the Conservatives couldn't argue against. The Lib Dems would in all likelihood be positive. Charities and NGOs fighting poverty would be supportive. This analysis and the proposals outlined could make a significant change to the lives of millions of children and their families. In time, it could help give a boost to the country's economic and social growth. It requires courageous and decisive action. Let's do what we can to bring about these critical changes. Together, we believe we can make a real difference. Thank you for listening. Further information can be found on the Fairness Forum website.